It is crazy that the GOP, the grand old party, the party of Lincoln and Eisenhower, even Reagan, now lives in fear not just of a former reality TV star living in a resort in Florida, but also lives in fear of a former bow tie wearing frozen food heir who hosts a nightly white power hour on Fox. Tucker Carlson basically now decides the GOP agenda on everything from aid to Ukraine to the green M&Ms. Yeah. He sets the tone. He decides the official enemies every night. And you dare not criticize him or cross him if you have an R next to your name.
And that was MSNBC host Mehdi Hasan talking with fellow host Ayman Moladeen about Tucker Carlson's sway over Republicans. The MSNBC host mentioned a Republican Party dynamic that has been increasingly clear and troubling. Tucker Carlson, with his far-right conspiracy theories and white nationalism, does set the tone, the agenda, and the enemies list for today's GOP. The MSNBC crew seemed amazed and bewildered by Tucker Carlson's power, but they also noted that this has been building for years. They played a clip from a few years ago involving Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz. Cruz had just called the January 6th insurrection a terrorist attack. Well, Cruz then went on Tucker Carlson's show and got crushed. Making the Cruz genuflection even more crazy, the senator literally embraced Carlson's beatdown. Watch.
You called this a terror attack when by no definition was it a terror attack. That's a lie. You told that lie on purpose.
The way I phrased things yesterday, it was sloppy and it was frankly dumb. I agree with you. It was a mistake to say that yesterday.
I mean, it's embarrassing. It's cringeworthy. Imagine a senator from one of the largest, most powerful states in our union debasing himself like that for Tucker Carlson.
To be fair to Tucker, wouldn't you pummel Ted Cruz when you saw him unable to defend his wife after Donald Trump called her ugly? I mean, Ted Cruz, it's not hard for him to kind of debase himself.
Good point about Ted Cruz. And yes, any television host, even somebody on Fox, is going to feel emboldened to hammer Cruz, given the senator's spinelessness in the face of personal attacks from Donald Trump. Anyway, this most recent look at Tucker Carlson began thanks to former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Johnson came to Washington, D.C. and spoke to the Atlantic Council, which is a well-respected international think tank. Johnson brought up Tucker Carlson and seemed shocked by the GOP fear of the Fox TV host.
I've been amazed and horrified by how many people are frightened of a guy called Tucker Carlson. Has anybody heard of Tucker Carlson? What is it with this guy? All these wonderful Republicans seem somehow intimidated by his perspective, and I haven't watched anything that he's said, but I'm struck by how often this comes up.
Well, to prove Mehdi Hasan's point about Tucker's thin skin and vindictiveness, Carlson responded to former Prime Minister Johnson with this.
He knew that Johnson himself was a coward. We watched during COVID as he transitioned into a terrified old woman. But we had no idea he was also a liar.
A coward and a liar, two labels Tucker Carlson loves to apply to a lot of people he disagrees with or people who have insulted him in his mind. And again, hitting back the way Tucker just did, he underscored the point that if you are a politician of any stripe and you mess with Tucker, watch out. It's especially dangerous if you're a Republican. You're going to get blasted. Now, one thing I've noticed about Tucker through the years, in full disclosure, Tucker was an office mate of mine 15 years ago at MSNBC. Tucker generally only makes life miserable for politicians and other elected officials. He usually doesn't hit back at media figures. There are a few exceptions, of course, but Tucker has not hit back at Mehdi Hasan for his segment about Tucker's power and sway. Now, I imagine Tucker actually loved the MSNBC segment because it showed that Tucker does have enormous influence over the Republican Party and is a figure to be feared. In other words, Tucker matters, at least to the GOP. And I have a feeling that Tucker finds that just as amusing and somewhat incredible as the rest of us. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section.